Dear writer, you need to quit. This is the show that helps you know what to quit, what to keep, and what to question. My name is Becca Syme, and I'm a Gallup certified strengths coach with thousands of hours of coaching 6 and 7 figure authors, mid-listers, major award winners, and new authors alike because everyone needs to quit something. Anyone can tell you what worked for them, and of course, they say it might not work for you, but they can't tell you why. Well, I can tell you why. Welcome to the QuitCast. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the QuitCast. My name is Becca, and I am your host for today. I always feel like I'm jumping on an airplane and about to tell everyone where the exits are, but today I am here. I cannot even contain how excited I am to talk about this topic. There's this new thing, and it's probably not new to some of you, hopefully, but it's called Clubhouse. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips about the app itself, explain a little bit about the app, and then also I'm going to talk about what I think authors should be doing on there. So there's kind of three parts to this. So the first part, which is my favorite exciting part, is talking about what Clubhouse is. And so for those of us who have missed being in conferences where there's sort of a variety of topics and there's a whole bunch of different experts who are here to talk to you about different things, Clubhouse is the answer to this. It's an audio only application. It's live. There's no recording. And it is a way to connect in a mastermind sort of setting with other people who are looking for the same kind of information you are. So here's how I have used Clubhouse over the last several days. I have a couple of topics that I'm really interested in learning about, but I want to learn about them from people I haven't already heard from, right? Because I've been around the author conference circuit quite a bit and looking for tips. So what I have found is there are a whole bunch of industries outside of the publishing industry that have a lot of things to say about certain things, like how to use TikTok effectively, how to use Instagram effectively, mindset stuff. And this isn't even to touch on all of the very nichey, interesting, specialist type of rooms, which I'll talk about in a second. But I'm talking about the way that I have been using it the most. You'll get into one of these Clubhouse rooms, and they're essentially an audio chat where when you come in, you're muted and no one can hear you, but you can hear the people on stage. You can't see them, their icons, talking about best practice or answering questions, giving out their secrets or tips or hacks. It's a little bit like being in an actual presentation at a conference where there are people on stage who are experts who are talking, usually experts, and we'll talk about that later, but usually experts who are talking, who are trying to give you tips and or answer questions, because a lot of these rooms will allow people from the audience to come up and ask questions on stage and get coached. And just in the last week, I have been able to get coached by some people who have these giant YouTube followings, people who are extremely successful on TikTok and Instagram and podcasting and all these different things. And I'm getting to go straight to the source and ask direct questions and be helped on an individual level, which, of course, if you know me, you know I'm huge on individualizing. I think customization is king. And I feel like from now on, that's essentially where we're going to head, is into this more niching and customizable content. So for me, Clubhouse is the ultimate in customizable content for only what you need or want to hear about. And of course, that's just if you have an agenda, like you want to learn about something or you want to get tips or you have a question. There also are all of these very interesting topics that you can be in. One of my friends went into a genetics room where there were a whole bunch of PhDs with multiple decades of work in genetics who were talking about their research. And they were kind of geeking out a little bit because it was just several of them, like being on a mastermind call. And she was just sitting in the audience listening, was not asking questions on stage. She was just listening and getting to hear all of these experts talk. I sat in a wellness psychology room last night, just listening to these amazing teachers and thinkers talk about this topic. And so this brings me to my, how would I utilize Clubhouse as just an individual? For me, I feel like there's kind of two options, right? There's I want to go on and deliver content because I'm an expert and I want to provide value to people. And there's definitely room for that. There still is room for that. But I'm so interested in hoovering all of this information, and it's so incredible because unlike, let's say watching someone's YouTube video, I actually have a potential to either interact with them or listen to other people interact with them and ask very specific questions. So it's much more like a small group workshop in that way. And the advice that I have been able to get is just astounding, because the level of person who is answering questions, and this kind of sorts itself out a little bit because the people who are not as good at being able to give helpful advice are not getting as much traction. And so the people who are very helpful are getting traction. So I've had this incredible experience on Clubhouse over the last week. I think I've only been on for a week, but I've spent almost every waking minute that I'm not in coaching calls or have something pressing to do actually on Clubhouse, and being in these rooms has been unbelievable. Before I get into the tips, I want to say a couple of things about the interface itself. It's still in beta phase as of January 2021. It is not public yet, and so you still have to get invited, but you can go to the app and get on a wait list, and then the people who have you in their phone contacts, because it's all related to your cell phone, will get a notification that you're on the wait list, and they can choose to invite you. The other piece is that you get invitations when you get onto Clubhouse, and you can use those to invite more people. The one thing now, because it's in beta, it's only available on the iPhone, but we actually got one of our friends on by having them buy a very cheap iPhone. It was so cheap, it was crazy. And then they used their Android to actually get the texting function and the phone function, and now they use the iPhone for the app, because the app is only available in the iPhone Apple Store right now. And then they just downloaded the app onto the iPhone and now they use it on Wi-Fi. That is the one downside for those of you who are not iPhone users, but it will be available wide soon, because this, I think, is going to be massive. I think Clubhouse is going to be an important function for better business practices, for more engaged people. I already feel like, as a number one input on the Clifton Strengths theme finder, I already feel like I have a million energy pennies just from having listened to Clubhouse for a week. And I feel filled up and ready to act. And I'm so excited about the future. So I want to say a couple of quick things about using the Clubhouse app itself, because I think that's really important to have some tips and guidance. The first thing I would do is that there is a Clubhouse for newbies, or some kind of new to Clubhouse or maximize Clubhouse discussion going on almost all the time. I would jump in there. Maybe not the very first thing you do. I would try out some of the actual discussion clubs first. And then I would get into one of the newbie clubhouses, because what I love about what they do, they have a whole group of people who will walk you through the use of the app. And there's some YouTube videos you can watch on it as well, that will walk you through the use of the app. I think that's awesome. I highly recommend. For me, the big tips that I have that I've learned over my use is that Clubhouse is all about who you follow. First of all, that's how you curate your content. So either the clubhouses that you join, because there are these big picture topics. Think of it like, this is the conference that I want to go to. I want to go to YouTubers, right? All I want to do is find great content on YouTube. So I would go join the YouTube Clubhouse, and then you'll get all of the topical discussions, which are the chats or discussions, that you'll get all of those notifications when those are going on. But for authors, there aren't a ton of clubhouses yet for writers in the early days. In January, there are a few that are being applied for by some people that you and I know if you've been around the QuitCast for a while. And I think that's going to happen pretty quickly as well. We are hoping to open a Strengths Nerds clubhouse as well. Jen Baseman and I have been working on that. So I'm pretty excited there. Find a Way Voices is running a room. Now Will is on there, and he's running a room on audiobook chats, Ask Me Anything chats for Find a Way. And that has been invaluable for me to be able to listen to all of the Find a Way people talk about the audiobook market, because that's definitely a place that I think a lot of us are trying to get into. So I highly recommend checking out Will Dages, Dages, and you can search for him and follow him. And also, he runs chats in the Writers Room Clubhouse. about audiobooks. And so if you join the writer's room, you'll get a lot of these notifications. And again, just be cautious about whose chats you're following, because not everyone in who's running chats in there is an authority. And that is not to say don't listen to any one specific person, because everyone's advice resonates for someone. So it's just to be cautious and to check out who it is that you're listening to. But Find a Way is by far, I think, has the best information on audiobooks. And so I highly recommend checking out Will's Clubhouse chats. We will be there. It's Tuesday. It's 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain. And I think I'm done with a call at 11. And so I'm hoping to be there right away. But at least I'll be there by 11:30. And so this is Tuesday, January 26th, I think, 25th or 26th. And so if you're on Clubhouse, make sure you check that out. And then just in general, whenever you hear a speaker on stage who's doing a really good job, make sure to follow that person so you can get more of their information. So that's kind of the basics about Clubhouse is uh, make sure to follow the right people. Always check out people's resumes and make sure they really mean what they say they mean. Just little tiny things like number one bestseller is different if you're talking about the category of 25-minute short history reads than it is if you're talking about number one overall Amazon bestseller, right? So those kinds of things are important questions to ask for just in general for me when you're talking about who to listen to. Again, that's not to say don't listen to anyone specific. It's just to say check it out, do your due diligence about who to listen to. But because I'm going to transition into how I think authors should be using this for right now, because I think this is the most important part. There are so many things I have learned in the last 6 days, 6.5 days, about the different platforms that we all use all the time, little tiny things on Instagram that I wouldn't have ever thought about, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, that I wouldn't have thought about, because I'm not talking to a specialist, I'm talking to a generalist, an author who uses, let's say, TikTok and 45 other, social media. So they don't have the opportunity to really drill down and become a specialist in that thing. And they shouldn't. They're specialists in being an author. But what I love about Clubhouse is that you get an opportunity to talk to someone who's produced 100,000 different YouTube videos, right? Because they're working with so many clients. Somebody who has 25 profitable YouTube channels. Like that's the level of difference that I'm talking about as far as like insider knowledge. It isn't to say anyone who's an author who's talking about a particular platform is not doing a good job. It's to say there's a big difference between 15 years of experience doing something and a year of experience doing that thing plus other things. Like you can give me amazing tips from what you've learned after doing something from a year, but the level of information that I've been able to acquire over doing something for 15 years, it's just a different level of information. So the podcasting help that I'm getting, the YouTube help that I'm getting, because I went into those rooms and talked to experts about things that they have been doing for their entire life. The quality of information is insane. I'm hoping to do some follow-up videos with some people that I've met in these rooms, specifically for authors, to help them hear the things that I'm hearing from this amazing platform. So again, that's how I think authors should be using this. The author community on there is very young. We're hoping to get some more people in there and help out to grow the robust community a little bit more. Get some of the experts in there who are doing things that no one else is doing. But I will say, I've learned things about Instagram, TikTok, um, little tiny tips like all the different softwares that you would get to know. I was in a room yesterday with people who run events. They ran 125 events last year online, digital events online. And the level of expertise she was able to provide me, because she had 125 different case studies from recent days, it was just phenomenal. And her name is Georgie. If you get a chance to follow her, I follow her. I highly recommend it. She is an amazing expert on that. Uh, the amount of platform proliferation that she knows and the depth at which she knows the platforms, it was just unparalleled. So anyway, I clearly am writing a love letter to Clubhouse today. I'm so aware of that. I'm so excited about this platform and what it could potentially bring to authors. And so I hope that if you have an iPhone right now and you're interested, that you'll go and try and get on the wait list, that you'll check it out. Make sure that you come and follow me. Make sure to follow Will Dages as well. And as more people come on, we'll be putting this together. Monica Leonelle started a room on Facebook called Clubhouse Authors, I think is what it's called. If you are currently an author, especially if you're a fiction author, like we're primarily trying to gather any author, but for me, I feel like fiction authors especially have special needs, right, that we need to address specifically. And so if you're a fiction author and you're on Clubhouse, make sure to join Clubhouse Authors Facebook group. We're putting every time I'm in a talk that I think is helpful for authors, I put a little notice in that Facebook group and I tell people who to follow and what room to be in, because I definitely feel like I just want to hoover all of this expert information and just continue. So if you're high input, if you're a high learner like me, if you're high context, high focus, high achiever, I highly recommend checking this out. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we utilize this in the future. You may see more Clubhouse videos from me. I have no idea. I'm thinking of doing something a little more structured at some point, but I sort of feel like this is my love letter to Clubhouse for authors. And so I hope that you have all enjoyed it and watched this far. If you are on Clubhouse, leave me a message so that I can see that you're there. I would love to connect with you and just see who you're following and what you've been learning. And also, one of the practices on Clubhouse is the DMs, either for Twitter or for Instagram. My Twitter and Instagram DMs are open. If you want to talk to me about Clubhouse, about other things I usually probably won't answer, but if you want to talk to me about Clubhouse right now, feel free to DM me, especially if you feel like you find someone that's really worth following and that's amazing. So again, join the Clubhouse for Authors Facebook group. If you're interested, please make a comment, or if you have a question, I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for tuning in to the QuitCast for Authors, and I will talk to you soon. We'll see you on the next QuitCast. Bye, everybody.